All right. Well, welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, August 16th and 2022. This is the iBUG Android Insight Call. I am your host, Ava Caruth, and my co-host is,
I am Hershey Trevetti.
and we just want to welcome you to another episode of the iBUG Android Inside Call. This is where you can come and learn about the Android platform, whether you using a smartphone, a Alexa device, a Google device. We talk about any and all products that run on the Android platform. So this is an open forum where you ask questions and we try to work with each other and support each other on the answers. So let me go on with a little bit of housekeeping right now, just to have everybody remember this show is being recorded. So we ask that you to minimize any and all background noises. Please stay muted until you have a question to ask, or you have an answer to provide or a comment. But in doing so, please wait until you are recognized by myself or by Hershey. And while people are talking, we just ask that everybody be courteous to each other. And as you know, the shows are being recorded. So when you want to go back and listen to a recording, you can go back to any and all of our previous episodes by going to ibugtoday.com. And on the website, you go to the iBUG Android Insight tab, and you can find all of our previous recordings as well as this current recording. You can also go to YouTube and find our recordings there as well. So back to a little bit of housekeeping, to a little more housekeeping. Just know that we do not raise our hands, okay? So just like I said, when you have a question, please wait till there's a lull, say your name, and one of us will respond to you to acknowledge you to ask your question. But also, if you have a problem with muting and unmuting, well, if you're on a PC, to mute is
Alt-A,
on a Mac.
Command-Shift-A.
And if you're on the telephone,
you'll press *6, and to unmute and mute, press *6 and quickly, and you will be able to mute and unmute that way.
And if you're using an iPad or an Android tablet,
you look at the bottom left-hand corner of your phone, if you're using Android or iOS. If you're using an iPad, I believe the mute button is at the top end.
Okay, so another thing is iBUG events. We have some iBUG events coming up. If you want to get the full list of events for the month, you can go to ibugtoday.com, where you can see all the list of events as well as sign up to get them emailed to you. But just to let you know, we have on Friday night on the 19th, we have the iBUG movie that's coming up. And the movie is The Departed.
That's correct.
Yeah, The Departed. So you can log in on this same Zoom conference call that you're on now. The same link works for the movie, and you can come in at 7:30 because they start a small social hour before the movie. And on Saturday, on the 20th, we have the iBUG Mac Cafe that will start at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the same Zoom link. And then we have the iBUG Vila Book Club, which will be next month. You can, like I said, you can look at the iBUG Today website to see about the events and the other events that are going on, because iBUG does everything from we talk about the Android on this call, and we also have calls where they go over the iPhone. If you have questions about your iPhone, and you can join them there. So as I said, we are here. If you want to get on our Android, iBUG Android Insight call here, we do have a list that you can come and join. Hershey, you want to give how to join our list?
Absolutely, Ava. So to join our list, you would send a blank email to iBUG, iBUG, Android, ANDROID, plus Android Insight plus subscribe at groups.io.
Okay. Well, I see we've had some more people come in. And right now we would just like to go around and just say who you are, how you heard about the call, and if you have an Android device, which one do you have?
Well, if nobody wants to jump in, I will. My name is Tom Jones. I'm from Chicago, Illinois right now until September 2nd, when we will move all the rest of our stuff down to a southern Illinois town called Mount Carmel, Illinois. And that's about 35 miles northwest of Evansville, Indiana. And we have a couple of houses down there and a lot between. So we're in pretty good shape. My wife, Renee Zellickson, had retired May 31st.
Right.
We have some Android devices, including 2 Android S22s, and we have Echo products, of course, with Echo Show and Echo Dot and an Fire TV, an old first iteration version of it. And so we've got all kinds of questions for all you guys. Oh, I forgot our microwave first oven.
All right.
And that's how we got our Dot. So that's the long and the short of it.
We really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that.
You bet.
Yes.
All right. So we did get some new people in here earlier. So if you want to state your name, let us know where you're from. If you've used Android, or what can we provide for you guys? So if you guys want to unmute yourself and let us know who you are.
Eva, Missouri City.
Hey, Eva.
Hi, Eva.
Hey, and I have Android like Echo devices, and I have a Brown No Touch Plus.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else wants to introduce himself? Let us know what kind of phone you might have, where you're from, stuff like that.
Yeah, this is Tom Jones back again.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Under the heading of my goodness, how could I have forgotten? I have Braille No Touch here also, so that runs Android stuff, and I know that Zoom is supposed to be able to run on it and stuff like that. I've heard it in operation, and it sounds really great when that happens. So
That's
if you have a Braille
that's a
No,
really awesome point to bring back.
thank you.
Definitely we're gonna ask you some questions about it down the road here.
Yeah, well, that's great, because we can all learn from each other, I guess, because I'm going to be doing some learning along with that myself. So.
So any other brave souls out here that are on the call tonight that just wants to introduce themselves, just let us know who you are, what city, place that you come from, what kind of phone do you use, and any other information you want us to know.
Hey, it's Mandy.
Hey, how's it going, Mandy?
Good. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. My Android devices are so old, I don't even remember what they're called. They're just really old, outdated stuff. But I also work with clients with whatever devices they happen to have. When I do the accessible
So you're going to give us all the
technology.
answers then, right?
I have more questions than answers. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mandy. Welcome to the show. All right. Anybody else wants to speak? Introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from, what kind of phone you have. And if not, Ava, what do you think?
Okay, well, let me introduce myself. Well, I am Ava. I'm here in Houston. And what Android device don't I have? I have the Samsung Note phone, and then I also have several Alexa devices. I have the Fire TV. I have a Samsung TV. I also have Google devices as well.
Sounds awesome. I guess bad manners. I guess I forgot to introduce who I am. I'm Hershey Trevetti from Central Florida. I have a Pixel 4 XL, a S22 Ultra, a Note 9, and and then speakers and smart hubs, and that's about it. Yeah, keep it simple. All right. Well, Ava, do you think we want to jump into questions? I guess I know we've had at least two people say they have a lot of questions. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say let's jump into questions and see where everybody's at.
So just remember to unmute yourself. Alt A for Windows, Command Shift A, or left hand corner. Unmute yourself. Let us know who you are and ask your question.
Well, I guess I'll start. I have this Android S22, and when you get an S22 or any Android thing, the first thing I guess you do is install the appropriate apps that you want, and there are some that come with it, some that you install. Is anyone familiar with, if you once get apps put on the quote home screen unquote, how you can get between the apps that you know you have? Is there a magic thing that you have to do to get all the apps to reveal themselves and where they're at? Or is there, because I've, as I said, I had quite a few apps. I had 4 pages of apps that just when an update came through, they all kind of went somewhere. And I'm sure they're there, but it's just that I don't seem to have access to them, and how to get all the access revealed is the question that I would have.
Okay. Would anybody know how to answer that question for Mr. Tom?
This is on an S22. Now that goes into the hopper of
So
research
here's a
items.
clarifier. I mean, I was pulling up my S22, so maybe I could bring it online here so I could show
Yeah.
you live. So what you're trying to figure is, where did my apps run away to?
Yeah, something like
short.
that. Yeah. And there's a difference, I guess, between apps that you actually have apparently used at some point, or at least I thought I had them on the phone, but when I was at the Verizon store today, the guy seemed to think that I hadn't downloaded any. And of course I had downloaded bunches because I have various things. And of course, you know, when you want to remember all the apps that you have, of course they hide. That happens to us when it gets 76, I guess.
Well, I see, I could understand that. So the prognosis of apps on Android, I like to usually use a button that says apps. So being that it's a Samsung phone, if you were to go to your app drawer by swiping with 2 fingers from the bottom, depending on if you're using TalkBack, when you do see those app drawer lists, there is a button up to the top right that says more options. I'm kind of defining it both as visual stuff and as best with
Good for you. Good for you.
good, best for both people. So on the top corner, you'll tap on that more options button. And in that list, you might see a couple added bits of information. I'm trying to remember the exact verbiage that they use, but what it does essentially is let's rewind the tape. You're looking for a home screen settings. And in the home screen settings, there is that setting that says app and then make an app icon on my home screen. So why I like that is there's an actual icon that lets me know where my apps are as an app drawer. If not, if you do use TalkBack, it's 2-finger swipe up from the bottom that will invoke all the list of apps that you have installed. Now,
That's good to know.
the third place that you might see your apps would be, let's say you go to settings. So swiping down with 2 fingers, and then at the top right-hand corner on Samsung phones is where you find settings. On Pixel phones, you have to swipe down twice to reveal the settings. But coming back to the Samsung phone, you have settings open. You will then look for apps and devices or apps and something. Everybody uses different verbiage, so it's all a little messy in my head. But it's basically you're looking for apps, and you'll know what apps you've installed there in case if you had to remove apps. I will try to get my phone going along here and hook it up to this call, and then maybe we'll kind of go into some of that area just to show you physically how it
Okay.
works. All right. If anybody else has any other questions, I'm going to work on this little situation here for Mr. Tom. But any other questions, concerns, comments?
Yeah, come on now, guys, help me out here. I don't want to be the monopolization going here.
Mandy here, but I've got to get away from some background noise. When you're ready, let me know.
Your default speaker has changed. The speaker / headphones left there, mute and left there, are right there, are right there.
Okay, I'm away from my background noise, but I didn't know if you were ready.
Go ahead, Mandy. You can ask your question.
Thank you. I believe I asked this last time, but it was toward the end where I think we were kind of wrapping up. But and I don't know if I phrased it correctly, but I asked about, it's something I know how to do on the iPhone with an app called Seeing AI that Microsoft makes. It's not available on Android, but I wondered if there's an app that it would do handwriting recognition, but not screen not like you're typing, but you're drawing the letters. It's not that kind of handwriting recognition. This is through the camera. So it's just like if you do OCR with a scanner, but this is optical character recognition through the camera, works on printed text, and it works on handwriting. And I'm just curious if anyone knows of a way to do that with an Android device, where you're just taking a picture of a handwritten note and you'll get the text either just displayed or read to you.
This is Kevin.
Kevin.
All right,
has a
Kevin.
Response.
This is under the documents option in Lookout, in Google Lookout. You go to documents and it'll do text and handwritten interchangeably. And I believe that even though it wasn't advertised, I believe they've added it to the just the on the fly text reading as well. Because I was reading an envelope the other day that was actually written in handwriting. And so I didn't have to go to the documents mode. I just read it in the text mode. And it's also an Envision AI, but I'm not sure if it's free in SuperSense, but Google, look out for sure. And it's somewhere in Envision AI, but I'm not sure where.
Thank you so much for that, Kevin. And yeah, so Mandy, we did talk about this last time, and I mentioned Lookout Assisted Vision since we did have Scott Adams from the Lookout team here 2 episodes ago. So let me throw a little plug. So I know we were talking in the pre-show where to find episodes and such. So if you go to YouTube and look for iBUG Android Insight, you'll find our past episodes recorded. I like to go there. It's just a little bit easier because I kind of live in YouTube. But if you don't want to use YouTube, we do have a podcast website as well, iBUG Today podcast.com, I believe it is. But the main catch-all website is always remember ibugtoday.com. and you'll find all the information such as the YouTube link, the podcast link, and all the upcoming information about iBUG. But to go back to the Android ecosystem with Lookout compared to Seeing AI, Envision AI, as Kevin mentioned earlier, has become free. I don't understand what that means specifically. It could mean that they got funded for it, so it's free. And then Super Sense does cost money. So as far as the ones that cost money currently, Super Sense is, I think, the only one left that actually has a subscription fee, whereas Google Lookout Assisted Vision and the Envision AI app are free. All right. So do you have more questions about that, Mandy, or was that sufficient for you?
Yeah, I was just going to check to whether any of the Android devices I use can handle those, but I'll often find
That's a good
individuals
question.
I help with,
As you stated, if you have, I think it's Android 6 or above
over
or 7 above, you should be
seven.
able to get Lookout Assisted Vision.
Okay.
So there's no other parameters or style of phone that you have. It's more based upon the operating system, to my knowledge. And Kevin's definitely a great source right there because he actually read text that was written. So I haven't written text to myself lately. I guess I should write me a Dear Diary story, but haven't done that yet. All right.
Just for
good.
just for curiosity, do you happen to have some vision to work with yet, Kevin? I mean, not Kevin. Sherry.
Hershey. Yeah, I
Hershey.
do have partial vision, but it's like vision works like this on Android. To me, is we had a lot of the technologies on Android, but they got taken away by companies buying us out. That's what happened. So I remember Ideal Currency Identifier was one of the first groups of apps that were out back in the day, and then they got bought out by Yahoo. So go figure when we talk about the problems that we're having with Android. And we always want to encourage people that do come on our call is to get in touch with Google, because the developers are human beings. They're not robots. I promise. We met a couple of them. So, we met Adam, Scott Adams came here. So we want to make sure that whenever we going to get in touch with them, the website that we found great impact with is g.co/disability support. And what that does is you could email, you could call, or connect to them via Be My Eyes. So that's definitely some resources right there just to get a hold of, you have a bug on your Samsung phone, go ahead and email them and say, hey, look, I have this, because at the end of the day, it's still Android and we should all kind of work together to fix these problems. So
Yeah.
I highly encourage with any kind of issues or bugs that you see to go ahead and file them. And then the other cool, interesting, since we are kind of on a news bit here, until people have more questions, I'm sure there's many questions coming up. But as we do, is Android 13 just came out. And so I just realized today, after blinking my eyes a couple times, like, wait, I don't have Android 12 anymore, because my Pixel 4 XL or any Pixel devices, and that includes you, Eva, with your Pixel device, will now be able to run Android 13. With anyone that has Samsung phones, 13 went into beta, so One UI 5.1 such and such, and throw the word beta in there. So it looks much cleaner visually for low vision stuff. It's much nicer and neat. It's not the color accurate for low contrast users. The colors are really nice and clean. This being on Samsung devices, but Android 13 is basically here. We just released the Pixel 6a phone, which I believe is either 450 or 499, depending on size. So those are some new devices if anybody's interested in, getting a refresh or trying to maybe move away from a phone that's not working too well. Pixel 6a, pretty decent in price. Samsung S22 Ultra is the S line. You have the S20, the A line from Samsung, and then we also have the Flip 4 and the Fold 4 that have also come out from the Samsung side. And yes, the screen readers do work even though they're foldables. So that's just a little bit of news for you guys, and hopefully you have more questions. Don't be shy, guys. I know we have a small crowd tonight, but it's the best time to ask your questions because we have much more time to dive into things.
This is Eva.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, like, so if you have an Echo device and you want to switch it from one room to the other, can you just say, Lady A, switch to living room, switch to, can you change it from one room to the other? I heard there's a way to do that, but I'm not sure how.
I'm gonna ask my Amazon lady Ava, Miss Ava. Would Ziggy or any of your friends over there know how to do this?
Can you repeat the question?
What she's trying to do is, let's say you have a speaker upstairs and you want to bring it downstairs. Can you verbally tell the speaker, move the speaker to this room to the other room? And I think so.
Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. Usually, because I can tell my speaker to turn off my alarm in my bedroom. So one, you do have to know what, if you haven't named your speakers for each room, that would be the first thing you would really need to do, or you have to know what room where each speaker is. Okay. I have mine named for, like, if my alarm go off in my office, I can tell it to go off, but you would have to tell it where the speaker is and then give it the command of what you want it to do.
Eva, does that kind of answer the question, or are we missing it there a little bit?
Yes, it does. I just couldn't get it to work for me. I'll have to kind of play with it a bit.
Well, because yes, you do have, so you're not saying like you're moving the speaker and you want to have it verbally rename the speaker, right?
Right. No, like, so let's say I'm playing a radio station in the living room and I'm gonna be in the kitchen to cook or something. So I'll say, I want to say, Lady A, move to kitchen. Can I? That's what I tried. That's what I thought you could do, but it won't.
No, it's because I just connected 3 of my speakers together, so I can do it. So it is a command that you have to do with it, and right now it escapes me because I just did it. Oh, so that I can play from
Yes,
my
I have to
office
get
to
the
my
right,
bedroom.
the right,
It's the right command.
words. Yeah.
To do that.
So would anybody else have an answer?
This
for
is
Eva if
this is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
In the meantime, it's pretty easy to switch from just one speaker to all of your speakers. You can just say play everywhere until you can figure out what the command is to play in a specific room. Now that works. That was one of the advertised features
yes,
that they
I've
talked
done that
about.
before.
So yeah, you can do that until maybe you get the other command. I don't know what it is either. I just told mine to switch, but it said that it was searching for Bluetooth speakers. So I don't know.
No. Okay, I just did it. I had to step out a minute. Okay. So you really have to know the name of your speaker. Like my speakers is Bearmaster Suite. And I just said, so mine, Lady A, play my Kindle book in Bearmaster Suite. And it started playing my book upstairs. So you really have to know the name. If it's just bedroom or whatever the speaker is, then say that, give it the command, play my book in, and then tell it where to go and see if that works.
Okay, I'll try it. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody else have any questions, thoughts, comments?
Another question out.
And that's who's
If you-
speaking there?
This is Tom Jones again.
Okay. We like
Okay.
just to remind everybody for the call, not to pick on you, Tom, but just to say your name so when we do, we know who to maybe tag. Like, okay, Tom said this one question, so just to remind
Sorry
people,
about that.
just to let
I
us,
forgot.
to be blind friendly, especially. So
That's
we
exactly
appreciate
right.
that. Thank you.
Exactly. And I appreciate that. And thank you. I'm sorry. I try to remember that in the future.
Sure.
In any case, my question has to do with the speakers themselves. Now, we have each of, like I say, we've got the Echo Show, the Echo Dot, and the Fire TV, and we use a different command wake word for each one. Now, if we aren't exactly in the presence of the one we wanted to do, if they're all hooked on our same network, will they recognize us if we speak, let's say, in front of the one in the living room to ask it to deal with something in the bedroom, but we, like, for example, we'll say, um, living room guy's name, could you ask the bedroom guy to play such and such and so, can you work it on that format, or does that work?
All right. So how this call usually works is our audience is our smartest people on this planet. So we're going to go to the audience and let them see if anybody could answer that question. So does anybody in the audience have that answer? All right. Well, not so much, but here's my kind of take. Here's my take on the speakers.
Okay.
We're living in the Echo ecosystem or in the Google ecosystem.
Yes, they're all Amazon devices.
Okay.
And so what I was going to say is we have the A1 in the living room, the E1 in the kitchen, and the Z1 in the bedroom. And
and to be honest, that is that's a clever way to do them, because like in my room with my light bulbs, for example, because all of these devices, they work similarly. So I have a light bulb above me, so I named it above. I have a light bulb to the right of me, I named it right standing. I have a lamp that's sitting on a desk, it's the left lamp, or stuff like that. So what I would suggest is, if you go into Alexa app and you name those speakers, I would think that if you gave it that quote, at least on Amazon and the Google side, I know it works, is I could say, hey, play in, the living room speaker's name. And it will actually transfer that music and actually play it over there. I'm not really, really familiar with Amazon as much as I am with Google products. So if anybody else has a bit to add to this,
no, if you're talking about the wake names, no, you cannot be in your living room and say, if your wake name in the living room was say play on Ziggy in the bedroom. No, that's just the wake name that it recognized. You literally would have to go in under each device, you can rename them. So rather than it saying, like mine says Ava's Echo Dot 4, okay, and it says Ava's Echo Dot 4. Well, I changed that name to say guest room, Bear guest room. So now whenever I do something, I can tell it, hey, look, whichever room I'm in, if that's the room I want, I can say, okay, hey Zig, turn on, play this music in their guest room. You have to rename the area where you have it. Or if it's in the living room, you can say living room if that's somewhere in that name. So it knows where the location is. So your wake name is only the wake name for that device, so that if you're saying that wake name, no other device, if another device had the same wake name, they would all answer if they're within hearing range. So that's why we changed the wake name. But that does not let it know what room it's in. Okay.
Yeah, I see other people are joining, so that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somebody else a chance to ask a question.
Don't be nervous, Tom. You could ask questions till 9:30. We're here till 9:30. So don't be nervous at all. We're so happy that you're here and you're bringing us fresh questions. So we always appreciate, the Amazon questions and Google and everything else. Like I could have said, go buy Google speakers, but then that's probably a bad idea.
Yeah. And mind you, that is 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Central time.
Yes. And so how about we take a little pause because we got a couple of our friends that just joined in. So if you want to introduce yourself and let us know who you are, where you're from, and what kind of devices you have. Ava, our friends are getting really shy these days, and I see him in there. I don't know when he's going to bring over that Chromecast stuff.
Now, so anybody else has a question?
Hello, can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yes.
Hey, I have a question. I have not previously used an Android device. I recently received an Android phone through SafeLink, and I've had a heck of a time acclimating to it. I was considering using it specifically for my Bard mobile, but I really just need some rudimentary how to get started with an Android device, and it's just an Android phone from SafeLink. Like, is it Google Play that I go to download the Bard mobile app?
Okay, so let's throw this out there.
This is Kevin.
Yes, Kevin.
Do you have any idea what the model number or what kind of phone it is? Samsung, Google, LG, or?
Unfortunately, no. It was. I was asked if they would want to sign up, and initially I was like, well, no, not really. I'm happy. I'm very happy with my Apple devices, but she said I could use it as a personal hotspot, and I did explain to her I just wasn't used to the Android devices, but so I don't know. I've just recently received it, and I just saw the email talking about if you had questions about Android devices. So unfortunately, I don't.
Have you turned on the talkback?
Yes, I recently contacted the SafeLink, and I was able to have somebody else initiate the talkback. So I've got that going.
Yeah, so it is the Play Store, and Bard is available in the Play Store. And if that's all you're going to use it for, then that's there. But like we were talking about earlier, for any other things that you might want to do, there's Google Lookout, for identification and reading food labels and stuff. And just about every other app is available, and it's just the regular Ira or Be My Eyes or whatever after you get the Bard. But Dolphin Easy Reader, there's a Bookshare app, there's apps, all the apps that you've had on your Apple device. If you wanted to put any of those, then most of them are available.
Okay, yes. My Bard mobile takes up most of my storage on my Apple device, so I thought it would be a really good idea to switch it over to that Android device.
So depending on which kind of device they gave you, one of the good things, this might be the case, is that you can use, on Android, you can use external storage for your Bard books. So if it's the right phone, you can buy a micro SD card from Walmart or anywhere. And that way you're not taking up the phone space for the books.
Okay. So with the micro SD card, how does that work?
It just has a little drawer. Sometimes it's under the phones that you could take apart. That's usually not the case anymore. So it's usually at the side or on the bottom, and you pop it up like kind of like you do the SIM card tray, and you put the card in there and you put it in there, and then it'll recognize it as another storage option. So when you go into your settings in BARD, it'll ask you where do you want to store the books. I believe that's still there, and then you can just pick the external storage.
Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you.
This is Foster.
Yes, Foster.
Another thing too is depending on what type of Android phone you have too, the same it may be the same tray that your SIM card is in may also hold a may also hold a micro SD card as well. Some Android phones do that. They have both your to save from having a whole nother port, they'll make one large tray, and you can put the SIM card in one place and then put the micro SD card next to it in one tray.
Okay, all right. And I can just purchase that anywhere?
Yes, yep. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you very much.
You can also go to your, with the TalkBack, you should be able to go to your settings and, excuse me, go to About, and that'll tell you what type of phone you have as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't get that last part. You said go to settings?
Yes, and go to the About, like About the phone. And it'll tell you what type of phone you have, the make and model.
Okay, and also, is there a does anybody know of like a basic forum for people like myself that have not really used Android devices before and just starting?
There's the excuse me. Sorry. There's the app, the list that we have, and then there's the blind Android users. I think that's what it's called. That's the one that I'm subscribed to. I'm subscribed to both, but they have a lot of traffic. There's a lot of advanced users, but they often have people who have gotten their first Android phone on there. And then another thing is to look up their YouTube page or their podcast, because they have a lot of getting started with TalkBack, getting started with Android accessibility tutorials on their blind Android users. But if you Google the blind, somebody keeps calling me. But if you look up the blind Android users group, the address is too long, but then you can subscribe, and then they'll answer. Somebody will answer. There's lots of people on there all over the world, so somebody will answer any questions. But the podcasts, they have a very basics, like with TalkBack series that they have.
Okay, I'll look into that.
This is Suba.
Yes. Yes, Suva.
Hi. So disregard the sounds. I'm still using the Metrolib, but my question is, I was hearing a lot of application like Bard for Bookshare, Dolphin Easy Reader. Is there anything like voice stream reader? Dolphin Easy Reader, great, but is there another option for synchronizing Bookshare account to another similar application to Dolphin Easy Reader? Is Voice Stream Reader available at Google Play Store, or any talks on that?
Okay, I was going to give somebody else a chance. This is Kevin. Yes, it used to be called Voice Stream Reader, but for some reason the developer changed the name. So on Android, it's called Ledger. They have the reader and they have the other one, whatever it's called, but they both do the book share and the reading on the fly and all the other formats, but it's called Ledger Reader now.
Ledger Reader. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, is there any other questions?
I have one. It's Mandy.
Yes.
I had to go look up what the device is called, but it's a Google Nest Hub. So that's the one with the screen.
Screen off.
Well,
Ringer
I
silent.
don't find a whole lot in the settings, but what I'm trying to do is get it to just always answer me with its voice, because sometimes it just puts something on the screen and that's how it presents the information, without, like, any of my other Google Home speakers would only answer the questions verbally, but on the Nest Hub, it sometimes displays the answers on the, just alerting me to that, and that's all I get to hear about it. And I don't find any accessibility settings. There's not really a whole lot in settings here.
Okay, well, let's throw that out to the floor. Anybody would like to chime in?
I guess not. So here's my guess at the Nest Hub situation. What I would suggest is okay, so here how the Nest Hub works. You have to have the Google Home app, right? So to give it to, since you are more iOS, it's kind of like having the HomeKit app, right? That you guys have a home app as well. Your Android devices will have an app called Home as well, which is called Google Home. So if you have smart devices such as speakers or hubs or light bulbs or anything to deal with your house, the Nest Hub app, or excuse me, the Nest, sorry, the Google Home app will take care of that, but the Nest devices would work from that. So you mentioned you are trying to accomplish what in specific though? You're trying to ask the speaker a question and it's only providing text. Is that the gist of it?
Thanks, Archie. I forgot that that's Google Home was controlling that. I think of that as my light bulbs and stuff.
Yeah,
But
so the Google Home app is definitely a powerful app in its own right. So for the Nest Hub, give you example. I have a Nest Hub, so I'll go find my Nest Hub and it's in the last room. So I will tap on that hub, and then when that screen opens up, that it's a bit of settings. I look at design language on many apps. So does it have notification and stuff at the top right? Visually, because I'm pretty much blind, but does it have it? So then my finger could at least navigate up there. And then when I want to figure out other pieces of information, is it in a list view? So what I would do here is I would go down that list of that speaker specifically, or hub, or whoever, and you'll find general settings. You'll find device settings. You'll find how to rename the settings, right? All of those settings that correspond to that. If you scroll to the bottom of that specific speaker or that hub, you'll see accessibility. So what this enables is you could have tones. So when you say, okay, G, it'll say bloop and then blip again when it stops listening. And or you'll have a place where under, well, you can make that screen a touch screen, right? So it is a touch screen essentially. So you could turn on the screen reader that's available and use it with the screen reader. And this is on I'm not completely sure on the Nest Hub Gen 1, but I'm certain about Gen 2 because I have them. So in those scenarios, you do have accessibility features, but you have to use the Google Home app to either add the device. Once you're done adding the device, go to the device settings and then see if any of that has more information for you.
yes, Harshit, there's definitely more options in the home app related to it. And the question I had specifically, and I still didn't find this, but it's sometimes like just the speakers will answer my question verbally. But
This
the
is a
hub will sometimes just say I put it on the screen for you.
Yeah, you know, I mentioned this earlier, and we do have more guests right now. So let me just mention the website
Yeah.
real quick: g.co/disability support. If we email Google about this, because what happens on my Pixel phone, to be specific, if I squeeze it and ask it a question, it won't speak back to me, and that's annoying. I expected to, like more like OKG conversation. So I don't know if the behavior is intended to be like that. Being that between sighted and non-sighted counterparts, going through that process of, oh, okay, sighted people ask it and it's going to just display it for you. So I don't know if it's thinking that way and not speaking it to you instead of as it's doing now, just showing it to you.
This is Kevin. I was going to
This
say
is
that
Tom.
if,
Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Kevin first, and then Tom.
for you to file that feedback under the regular feedback section, not just because when accessibility is enabled, it takes that into consideration. So if you don't have speech enabled, it's thinking this item has a screen, and so you can see what's up there. It doesn't think that you want to hear the information as well. So even if you went into the accessibility settings and switched it on, if it was available, if you don't have talkback enabled or some voice assistant enabled, just like on the phones, a lot of times it won't read information, even on my phone sometimes, and I have talkback enabled. It'll just say, here it is. And it'll just put it up on the screen because it knows that I have a screen on. So put it in the regular feedback as well, that's a feature that you would want.
Okay. And it's, it's a matter of the fact that I would just rather get the same answers I would have got through the Google Home speaker, and they can still display it on the screen, but just also speak the answer.
Yeah. And that's why sometimes I'll ask the same question to my Google Home
instead
of my phone, because on the phone, sometimes it will just say, here it is, and so because it knows that that the device has a screen, even though I have TalkBack on. So that's just going to require feedback in both places. Yeah.
Okay.
This is Tom.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was just wondering two things. One, is there a way with either the Pixel or other devices that you have the accessibility features turned on? Is there a way to tell it, hey, whenever you display something, read it to me as well? And second thing is, well, I wish I had a nickel for every time I heard, I found this on the web for one of my devices. Anyway, let's go past that chuckle along and go from there.
Hey, community, anybody have answers from Mr. Tom? Wow, quiet one. So Tom, give me a proper rephrase of that question so I could on the first half.
Oh, well, I guess my question is, with the Google devices or with any device, whether it be Android or Samsung or Pixel or any of the others, I was just wondering if there isn't a way that if it knows that it's going to be looking at a screen, you can tell it as a general rule, when you are going to put something up on the screen, consider that I have accessibility turned on and read it to me. That's the paraphrase question, and you may have to ask this in feedback.
I want to give you a couple of different answers because
sure, of course.
One, you're new to Samsung. It appears I'm sure because you told me about Ultra. So to give you a little bit more of a understand if, give you more details is with, let's just say Samsung, you do
Mhm.
have settings that are, that are quite similar to what you find on Pixel, but I I think at the end of the day, with what you have specifically, even if you're asking a phone what to do, if you're using Lookout, for example, to read something like text on a screen, you could use Lookout for that purpose. The other thing to use would be, let's say, a Nest Hub or such. Well, if you're using
Yeah.
the screen reader for that purpose, so I'm not sure if you're using a screen reader for one. Number two, there's also Select to Speak, which that kind of sounds like what you're more describing to me, because let's say you have a paragraph on a page or something, or just a little
Yeah.
message or text message. Select to Speak is part of the Android accessibility suite. And so you could point your finger at that little blurb and it'll read just that information out. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't have much vision and you're okay with using the screen reader does it all for you pretty much. So let's just give example. You went to a Google article and you wanted to have it read out loud. A great thing that I like to do personally is to say, okay, G, I'm not trying to say it out loud, but okay, G, and then read it out loud. It will give you a better vernacular vocabulary, like the sounds just better. They
Mhm.
use a different TTS voice and they'll read out
Yeah.
the same information. So depending on your tasks that you're trying to do, just depends on what tool you're going to use at that point.
Exactly. And the fact is that my wife has a little partial vision, but I have no vision. So I'm functioning screen reader all the way. So that's a good point to bring up, because I forgot the fact that some of y'all have a little bit of vision yet.
I just fake it.
I understand. Sorry about that. Anybody else I want to
No.
encourage to?
Don't say sorry whatsoever. We appreciate you so much, and new questions and like that. Like I said, it's refreshing to always hear a new perspective. So, if anybody else has any questions, concerns, we'll move on to the next question till I can bring on some information for you.
And this is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I was just going to say to Tom and to everybody that that's just something that is needed, what he's asking for, but I just haven't gotten around to requesting it. But the more people that request it, I do my request through Be My Eyes and the specialized help. I don't do so much of the typing online because they are pretty responsive online, but I like to give my case number right away. And they also email you right away if you talk to them directly. But they not only help you with technical issues, but they'll also take feature requests. So it should be a setting after all these years that, you know, just like it does on the speakers, it knows that the speaker does not have a screen. So anytime TalkBack is enabled, just, mute TalkBack and just read whatever it is, if it's restaurant choices or, whatever. And it's getting better about that. It's reading most of them now. But if you notice that there's times that it still says here it is, then report that and tell them to make it to where it's always reading everything that's on the screen.
I know. And this is Tom. I was just going to respond to that by saying, I know the best way to do that is to ask for a feature request that says, let my device say to the system, hey, pretend I'm a speaker.
Yes.
Well, if we have any other questions, thoughts, Kevin, you have any other thoughts, concerns? All right, so let me try to get my phone into this chain here for you guys, and we'll see what we could get.
This is Tom with a
Device
little
unlocked.
side question.
Title in pager.
Yes, Tom.
Is there a device that still continues to provide a headphone jack for demonstration purposes through, say, mixers and stuff like that? Or is there perhaps a, I think there is a Bluetooth to hardware converter that you can get. So that'd be something I could try.
Okay. Does anybody have a response for him, for Tom?
This is Kevin.
Yes, Kevin.
The mid-tier Samsung phones, some of them still have a headphone jack, and the new Zenfone 8 or whatever it's called, it's like a flagship that has a headphone jack, or you can get the converters that they have online, USB-C to headphone, but make sure that you read the reviews and make sure it's a high quality one. If you can, buy the one from Samsung or Google, but they have some good ones on Amazon. You just have to pour through you have to go through a lot of descriptions and reviews to make sure that it's because USB-C can be kind of spotty, so you might buy a very cheap one, but it might not be very good and not work with your phone.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for that information. Anybody else have questions, thoughts, concerns? All right. Well, Tom, would you mind if I picked on you a little bit and re-ask you that question from earlier in the show?
I have no problem with that.
you
If
were
I
asking
don't
about
have the answer to be picked
how-
on, I will let you know, but feel free.
Thank you, sir. And welcome to the show. Now, hopefully you'll come in next month. But how what were the
intend to.
questions that you had in the sense of you wanted to know your apps, right? Or how many apps you have? Like, let's clarify for the new
Right.
people that joined us.
Exactly. In other words, let's say, for example, I wanted to find out from my Android phone what it thinks it knows I have. I guess is probably the best way to put it. And you were giving me some great advice before. I wonder if you could repeat that as far as to if you swipe down with two fingers, is that the thing that tells all the apps, or is it swipe up with two fingers from the bottom?
Screen off.
All right. So, hey, Kevin, since you're on the call with us, would you mind giving us a play-by-play? Is it swipe up? Is it swipe down? Is it swipe left? How many fingers?
Give it a chance to unmute.
It is swipe up, and you don't want to be on the very bottom, especially if you have gesture control turned on, because if you swipe up from the very bottom, it's going to take you home. So you want to be about a half an inch, maybe an inch above the bottom of the phone and swipe up, and that will turn on the
9:04 p.m. Home. Envision
open
AI
up the
in
app
pager.
drawer.
Page 1 of
And
5.
on Samsung phones, if you swipe again up, it's going to take you back to the home. On Samsung's phones, it's like a toggle. So it just keeps going back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, it is a Samsung S22. So,
okay. Yeah, I have the same
Home screen,
phone,
one of
so I'm
three.
always doing that. Like if I think it didn't
Google,
take,
folder, out of
I
page.
do it again, and now I'm back on the home screen. So Samsung, it's
Page 1
almost
of
like
5.
a
Home
toggle
screen, 1
that
of
you
3.
just
Weather
swipe
and
from
fog.
the bottom. Now, if you have gesture control turned off, you have a navigation bar on the bottom, then you can swipe from just about anywhere.
see, now
swipe
these
up.
are things I need to learn about, and I'm glad you're pointing that out. The gesture control, that's probably in talkback settings, or is that in accessibility settings? Well, that's another thing. When I hit accessibility, it turns talkback off on me.
On Google
Wednesday, August
phones,
17th.
it is a couple of different places, but they did put it in accessibility settings so you can turn it. On Samsung phones, it is under either home screens or display. I see it all the time, but
Of course, when you want to remember where it
Right.
is.
So
hold on.
let me give you an example here and you give me the volume feedback since you do know you're hosting. So I'm going to do one of these.
Talkback menu. Page navigation. In list. Showing items 1 to 10 of 10.
Too loud?
No, you're fine.
Read from next item. Copy last
So
spoken
this
phrase.
is a
Volume
talkback
set to
menu,
85%.
right? So how I achieved this was tapping with 3 fingers onto the screen. I'm using the latest talkback that Samsung offers. I don't know what version it is currently, but it's in the Galaxy store. So I changed this specific menu earlier to my liking. So,
Spell last spoken phrase. Sound feedback off. Screen search. Hide screen.
well, is that a little bit too fast? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let's
Default.
just see.
Speech rate.
So
So I'm
far, I
taking-
can understand it.
Right. So what I'm doing right now is taking 3 fingers on my screen and I'm swiping them downwards. So when I swipe it downwards,
Spoken language.
let me get my mic here so I could talk and kind of show my phone.
Accessibility volume.
It's
Characters.
I'm
Words.
swiping downwards, but that actually is the controls. It's not the talkback menu. So when you're looking through talkback, you always want to justify what it means to you. People that use Apple devices notice that's a rotary, right? Like a rotor.
Right.
So character by character, word by word. That is on Android known as reading controls. So this that I have are talkback menu controls. This is a little bit different,
Talk
but
screen
it's
off.
more of a list. So let's get this bad boy
Device
open
unlocked.
again.
9:07 p.m.
Tap with 3
Talkback menu.
fingers
Page navigation. In
and
list.
bam,
Read
it's
from next item.
so read from next item.
Copy last spoken phrase. Spell last spoken phrase. Sound feedback off. Screen search. Sound feedback off.
Now let's put sound feedback on because it might help people with extra ear cons. So
Sound feedback on.
I turned that on with double tapping with 1 finger.
Update weather button.
Oh wow, okay, so I hear clicks now.
Talkback menu. Page navigation. In list.
You hear more
Showing items 1
character.
to 10 of. Read from next item. Copy last spoken phrase. Spell last spoken phrase. Sound feedback on. Screen search. Hide screen. Talkback settings. Text to speech settings. System actions. Cancel button. Audit.
Text to speech settings.
System action. Text
So
to speech
that's where you
settings.
want to go.
Talkback
Okay,
settings.
let's go to text to speech settings.
Hide screen.
So
Talkback settings.
that's where we wanted to go.
For example, where you can change voices and
Text to
stuff
speech
like
Okay,
that.
we could go there.
Text to speak. Preferred
And
engine. Vocalizer TTS.
I
105. In
prefer
list.
this
5
one,
items.
but I'll double tap.
Preferred engine.
I will
Not selected. Radio button. Speech services by Google. 2 of 3.
change it to Google.
Using speech services by Google.
Now that's really, really fast probably,
Not selected. Radio button. Vocalizer TTS. 3 of 3.
right? But
Selected. Radio button. Speech not selected. Radio button. Vocalizer TTS.
I'll go back to vocalizer
Okay. Button. Using vocalizer TTS. Preferred engine.
and
Lines. Paragraphs.
let's
Headings.
just slow it down
Controls.
for the
Links.
audience
How
because
did you get Vocalizer? That's great. I'm glad you got it.
Speech rate 1. Speech rate 1.
so
speech rate,
vocalizer
speech rate,
is
speech
offered
rate,
by Code
speech rate
Factory,
90%.
and
Yeah,
I
I
just
know.
like Ava as a voice because it kind of it makes things if you're using JAWS
Yep.
or any screen
Yep.
reader as such, it brings familiarity along the
Yep.
way. So if you're a
Exactly.
Mac user, you might have your familiar Atom voice or something. So
Yeah.
to give compare and contrast, this is my compare contrast is Ava's my
Yeah.
favorite voice, and so you have
Sure.
that.
Not selected. Radio
Now,
button. Samsung text to speech engine.
you do have
1 of 3.
Samsung as your default, and this is where you will find your engines if you wanted to switch to them. I have Ava already set up, but Ava set up as an app. We'll probably work on that maybe next month, and we could show you how to dive into that. But let's
Yeah,
just kind of
that's
jump
another
out of
story.
here real quick.
Yeah.
Home.
We'll hit
Talkback
talkback,
menu. Hit
and we'll go to
screen search. Hide screen. Talkback. Text to talkback settings.
let's go to talkback settings just to give you a quick
Talkback settings.
uh,
Navigate up.
look
Button.
here.
Out of list.
So at the top,
Talkback settings.
you hear talkback settings.
New features in Talkback. 1 of 14.
Huh,
In
okay.
list.
So if you want to
14
learn
items.
about that, you could.
Audio. Heading. 2 of 14.
Okay, so that says it's a heading. So if you were to go through controls or headings and such, that's a quicker way to navigate, just as you would on any other device, like Apple device. So
Text to speech settings. 3
text
of
to
14.
speech, well, it shows up again. So if you needed to get to text to speech, there it is.
Verbosity. 4 of 14.
Verbosity, I'm gonna leave that be.
Speak
Yeah.
passwords. Passwords
Speak
always
passwords,
spoken. On.
that's
Switch.
important
5 of
one.
14.
Speak passwords should always be checked. Otherwise, when you enter a pin and you're a screen reader user, it's not going to tell you nothing. So you might feel,
Yeah, you get bullet, bullet, bullet,
yeah,
bullet.
you're just going to be stuck. So be careful with that one on Samsung devices specifically.
Sound and vibration. Customize
Trust
spoken
me,
controls.
been there.
Heading. Set. Speak verbosity.
So you have
4 speak
verbosity,
passwords. Past sound and vibration. Controls. Sound and vibration. 6 of 14.
Okay.
Controls. Heading. 7
Okay,
of
so we
14.
have the headings of control heading.
Customize focus indicator. 8. Customize gestures. 9 of. Customize menus. Show it rail keyboard. Customize menus. 10
So
of
we
14.
saw customized
Show it items 5 of 14
menus.
of 14.
If you wanted to,
Customize menus. Customize talkback menu. To use the talkback menu, tap the screen with 3 fingers. You can also swipe up then right, or swipe down then right. 1 of 2 in list. 2 items.
Oh no.
Customize reading controls. To use the reading controls, swipe left or right with 3 fingers. You can also swipe up or down with 3 fingers. 2 of 2.
so it's telling you what to do exactly with
Yeah.
the tooltip and stuff. So these are the little areas just to, as far as talkback is concerned, to kind of dive into.
Home.
Earlier you mentioned apps. I'll try to remember, and if you want to join our mailing list, it's iBUG Android Insight plus subscribe at groups.io, and you could send us a blank email and send us a note, and we could look into some of these areas you want to dive into a little bit more, and give
Yeah,
us
as a
more.
matter of fact, that's a great idea, and I think I will. And thank you very much for
Of
that.
course, and just to show you the apps
Home.
thing, so
Apps.
like
Out of list.
let me just go over that one last
Phone.
bit. So phone is what I have to the left.
Contacts.
Second item, and this is like the tray at the bottom. In iPhone world they called it, I forget what they called it, but on Android,
Doc or the status bar?
the dock, there you go, the dock. Yeah, status bar. So
Phone.
you got phone.
Contacts.
I have contacts.
Messages.
I have messages,
Internet. Apps.
and then you see where it says apps. Now,
Page 1
app
of 5.
wise,
App screen.
See,
Page
that's
1 of
what I
5.
lost.
Google. Folder.
right. So this is an icon, as I mentioned. Let's see if I could
Search.
make this happen live.
More options. Button.
Okay, I see more options.
Pop. Settings.
Settings. Let's see what settings has to say.
Navigate home screen layout, home and apps screens, home screen grid, 5x6, 2 apps screen grid, 5x5, folder grid, 4x4, add media page to home screen, Google Discover, 6 of 18, off, add media page to home screen, switch, show apps screen button on home screen.
That's
and
where you want.
Switch, 7 of 18.
So,
Showing items 1 to
as
7
we
of
did,
lock home screen layout,
I'll
add new apps to home,
kind of
hide
rush
apps
through
on home,
this.
app icon gadget on, app, swipe down, show rotate to landscape mode.
Okay, so let's go
Home,
back. So
weather
we're on
and
my
clock.
home screen.
Double tap
And
drag
all I
to
do to
move
go to
and
home
pages.
screen is, since I don't have my navigation buttons, I like the gesture side of doing things, is I swipe from the bottom with 2 fingers. So I have apps,
Internet, out of apps,
which is always docked to my right corner. So that's
Page
kind of
1 of
a
5,
way
app
to
screen.
notice.
More options.
I
button.
know that many app
So you
design
have
on
a back
Samsung have
button
more
there.
options on the right corner. So I found more options quickly. I double tap,
Pop-up window. Sort in list.
and then I see
Settings.
sort, and I see settings.
Accessibility button off. Color
Accessibility,
inversion. Out
that
of list.
that's
off.
what I use, but that's not part of that. It just talks part of
Pop-up
it.
window.
So
Settings.
let's go
in
back to settings,
home screen set. Search.
and
Add media page to home screen. Google Discover. Off. Add media page to home screen. Switch.
what that means is if you want to have your news or quick things, if you
Oh yeah, no.
swipe to the left, it'll tell you like Google News and things you're interested in. I keep mine off, and then
Show
Yeah,
app screen button
I
on
do.
home screen. And
show app
switch.
screen,
7 of 18.
and just turn
Showing
that
items 1
switch
to 7
on
of
or
18.
off, and you'll be in business.
If I want to know about it, I'll go look for it, right? Yes. Am I still? Are you still with me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're my wife and I are, just as I say, in the final stages of moving, so we're kind of going nuts with packing and loading and packing and stuff. So we'll be done with that story in September. So, oh, then it'll be the eternal task of unpacking, but that's another story.
Well, we really
For another
appreciate
day,
you,
another
Mr.
way.
Tom, for coming by and asking your Android questions. And like I said,
Oh,
I
thank
hope
you.
we answered many of your questions that you asked at the pre-show.
Mhm.
Ava, when's the next show going to be? Matter of fact,
Our next show is actually September 21st. Will be the third Wednesday in September.
That's great.
Okay.
And I will definitely plan to be there, and I'll also jump the list. And I thank you guys. I really, I didn't intend to monopolize things. I'm sorry about that, but
you're
I
perfectly fine. We
do
always
fully
welcome new
appreciate it.
users. So thank you so much and making our show great for us.
And if I am in an audience and you need a pick honor, I'll jump ahead and be glad to submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tom. So we about T-minus 15, rough, give or take. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, concerns, questions? Have a good answer. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
No, Ava. Can I ask a question, Ava?
Yes, Hershey, you can ask a question.
Okay, it's my turn. Okay, so my issue is, let's say you open up Amazon shopping app. Yes, you're going to Amazon landing. And you go to the edit field. Let's look up USB-C to 3.5. And then you close the app, you come back, and then you go to the search bar. Now you want to search for Colgate or Crest. What happens? Does it type in USB-C blah 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 to 3.5 Crest, or does it actually just type in Crest for the audience out there? Because like where I'm having issues with, I don't know if it's my Samsung that's giving me finicky issues. It's mixing up my previous search with the new search that I try to type in the search bar.
Well, a lot of times what has happened is that the previous search is not cleared out. And when I'm on my Amazon app, there's not always a clear button beneath the edit box. So you really would have to go back in and backspace or to clear it out, because it's still holding that previous search there sometimes.
Yeah, I want you to order it again.
This is Foster.
Yes, Foster.
Yeah, I don't know how you would navigate it with the talkback or some other screen reader, but there's in the search box, like to the far right, there's usually like a little X icon to clear the previous search. So I don't know if you can navigate to that, but other than that, you would have to do like Ava said, because it doesn't rate. The Amazon app doesn't. If you go, it kind of holds what your last search was. So you have to delete it.
Kind of information who to hit up if we have issues on the Amazon side of the coin.
I know they have a place where you can go. I'm not sure exactly where, because they made a big push on accessibility as well.
Correct. Yeah, I used to have an email. I'll try to go dig it up and maybe put it on our list. It was a while back. I actually I was demoing a Fire Stick, and I had an issue with the Bosch series for not having audio description, and I actually got to talk to execs in the audio description. I don't know what side of the pond they were in Amazon, but we got that accomplished, and that kind of set a precedence to what happened to accessibility thereafter. So kind of a little bit of insight from my end of how I interacted with Amazon. But I kind of tend to live in more on the Google side because it's more flexible.
Yeah. This is Kevin.
Go ahead.
The Amazon Disability Helpline tends to drive people more towards the phone number. I think you can submit feedback or something if you go from one of their disability or accessibility articles. But as far as like needing assistance with setting up Fire TV or telling them that you have problems with the app, you usually have to dial that Amazon Disability Help number, the same one that you would dial if you need them to describe a shirt to you or something like that before you made a purchase. But they don't do so much about they don't go with the email for their side of things so much.
Thank you for that insight. So, more vocal communication is best set for Amazon versus a email based as they used to be.
Yeah, once you get on the line, because the number, when they put the number everywhere, I don't know if it notices that I'm using a screen reader, but when I go to Amazon.com, the number is right there. It's on every page. I mean, as soon as I lower the page, it's always there. So, like I said, I don't know if they notice that I'm using a screen reader, but they have the number prominently displayed.
Right. Because I know, like we said, the struggles we talked about earlier in this call was changing the speaker name and rooms, and it gets really finicky, right? Because changing a room name doesn't mean you change the device name. So, if what I've heard, the best story with that is put everything in one room, and it doesn't matter what room it's in, as long as it's connected to the network. So then you have less issues, and the speakers don't tend to freak out as much as they would. But have you dabbled with any of these new devices as the Samsung Watch or any of those pieces of information? Earbuds, the Pro earbuds. I know we keep this is not a sales call by all means, but this is new devices, and if the device is going to help us, especially like the earbuds.
Exactly. In fact, it's comical. I don't know if the iFrog headsets go with that, but I'm in the process of trying to learn how to use the ones I just bought.
This is Kevin. I have the Watch 4. I don't have the Watch 5. I'm not going to get the Watch 5 because the Google Watch is coming out, but I am going to trade in my Galaxy Buds Pro for the new and improved Galaxy Buds Pro 2 or whatever they're called.
Correct.
But I'm not changing the watch because it's going to get the same software upgrade.
Right. And the main thing I look at it this way, you with the codecs, I want to kind of mention this. Like I'm using Sony headphones and I'm using LDAC, which is a codec, LDAC, provided by Sony. There is also other, like iPhone uses AAC and SBC. So those are your three common ones, or aptX. But what's interesting these days is how clear the screen reader sounds on like LDAC codec versus AAC. So as far as performance for me personally, those are some interesting remarks that I've seen. So Anchor makes some inexpensive headsets, and they do really great for transparency mode. So whenever you're walking around, or you get the Shocks type of headphones, a lot of new technology is coming into space. The Google Watch, the watch, I guess that's all they're calling it, is set to be released, I guess September, October more so. And so it's interesting where we're kind of headed in our future. Phones of recommendation for this call, for any listeners out there listening to the podcast thereafter, is going to be Samsung and Pixel. Pixel, just because of the onboard chip and having flexibility with your assistant, it does help the vision impaired. If Kevin wants to share a moment about his situation, that'll be really cool.
Share information about which part?
Like when you have why is it important to have the chip on the phone, right? Because it makes dictation 10-fold better compared to Samsung or any other, like why?
Yes, the tensor chip makes a big difference as far as some of the things that you're able to do. Although right now it's so good or too good or something that it keeps putting in punctuation where I don't want it. It keeps putting in punctuation conventions, and I keep having to erase them. But the rest of it is great.
Thank you so much. And if anybody has any other questions, concerns, we're more than happy to. We have a few more minutes here. We could answer them.
And this is Kevin. One thing that people on Samsung are not using enough, and I think they continue to make progress, but they would need feedback on it, is You have a very powerful tool in Bixby Vision built right in. It's for accessibility. So that's a first party app, just like Lookout. But Samsung has developed basically their own app for accessibility, and it has, I think it has currency, but it has lots of different things, scene description and a few other things, and it has wine for some reason. Doesn't say food labels, but it does say wine. It has barcodes, and a few other features like Envision AI and Lookout, but it's built right in. I have Bixby Vision installed
Mandy's
because
question was about handwriting. Does Bixby have handwriting?
I don't know if it does handwriting because it's in development. Well, of course, everything's in development, but they may have added it. But I don't know. Once Lookout got handwriting, I wasn't really worried about anything else having handwriting. I use Lookout for everything because the food labels mode is so good.
Man, I definitely recommend if anybody hasn't seen the past episodes. Scott Adams was on here, and that team is impressive. There's not many people there, and that's why I said our information, our feedback. If you just go to the Lookout app, and within the app there's feedback tabs, fill them out. Just let them know your thoughts, because that's how we're going to improve. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, oh well, they're not going to use it. Let's make a new app. So I could only, stress that it's important to get in touch with these vendors because they are human beings and your word is powerful. And just to remember, you're here listening to iBUG Android Insight. You can find us at www.ibugandroid or ibugtoday, ibugtoday.com. And then as far as our mailing list, that is iBUG Android Insight plus subscribe at groups.io. Ava, any kind of last thoughts?
Yes, just remember that Friday night on the 19th is the iBug movie night. The Departer from 2006 will be the movie for the night. And our Apple workshop is on Saturday the 20th from 2 to 4. And it's all on the same Zoom link. And as you know, we will be back in September on the 21st, the third Wednesday of the month. And we look forward to hearing you again.
All right. Well, any last remarks, thoughts? 2 minutes. Let's see. Anybody else?
Okay, so as we said, we will see y'all next month. And if y'all have any suggestions, and we do have a lot of people have joined our mailing list, so just look forward to seeing some things that we will be posting out. If you have questions, always you can send them to the mailing list, and that way everybody can chime in and see, give a comment or
discussion, right? Let's get new topics in there.
And okay.
Thank you guys for offering
everybody
this.
Have a good evening. Oh yes. You're welcome. All right, everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.
Everybody have a lovely evening.